The Reverend and the Rabbi, Faith and Eggs. Reverend Bill Crawford, Senior Pastor of Larchmont Avenue Church, and Rabbi Jeff Serkman, Senior Rabbi of Larchmont Temple, are friends and colleagues in our community who get together regularly for breakfast and always lively discussion. Join the Reverend Bill and Rabbi Jeff at their latest meal at the Nautilus Diner. Enjoy a breakfast of faith and eggs with the Reverend and the Rabbi.
Rabbi Jeff.
Reverend
Oh, my brother.
Back at the Nautilus.
Back at the Nautilus.
Summer hiatus plus a little.
You know, here it is. It's August 29th.
The virtual end of August.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Moments away from Labor Day.
Why does the summer go so quickly?
I don't. There is an ontological, deep, epistemological, profound question.
You've had 3 big words already.
I know.
It's not even a minute in.
I know, and we haven't even gotten to sports. I mean,
and we haven't gotten to
does that all pertain to the Red Sox? In first place, brother.
Right now,
I'm
feeling okay, but it's 3.5 games. It can go like this. We're playing the Yankees this weekend, big series.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's it's good, but it's so good to see you.
Great to see you. I miss you. You look great.
I'm trying.
You look radiant. You look ebullient.
I am ebullient. So you have ontological, epistemological, and ebullient.
Yeah.
I want you to look up these words and Google them and just put the definitions on the screen.
And then stay tuned because we're going to say them all in Yiddish.
Ebullient. I don't even have a clue.
Yeah.
No, I bet there's a word for ebullient. It'd be like radiant almost.
Radiant. We're outgoing, with panache, with connecting.
With panache,
that's you. That's you. Yeah. Wow.
So tell me, the summer?
The summer, good. A lot of moving parts, here in ministry we can talk about the rabbinate, about a pastorate.
Yes.
On the surface, we get past the end of school and things are kind of rosy, summery, slow, it seems. And then under the surface, though, a lot is always going on. And then we're also kind of looking ahead, are we not, to post, September 1st.
Yes.
And here's the High Holy Days.
I am certainly looking ahead. Unfortunately, this summer for me is always, I spend a little bit too much of the summer focused on the High Holy Days.
Yeah.
And focused on, what's going to be my sermon or my sermons, 3 sermons. And because I have so many of my congregants there for the holy days, and not necessarily coming that often, they'll come when they come. Some are regulars, some aren't.
Yeah.
So if 95% of the congregation is going to be there, you want to make sure you say what you need to say.
It's a window of opportunity.
It's a great opportunity.
Of what?
It's a great.
And likewise with, here's Christianity and our Protestant and Catholic churches.
Yes.
We could talk about our Muslim brothers and sisters and so far as High Holy Days there.
Yes.
But you're right. I must say that on any given Sunday, we don't see all of our 700 members at the Larchmont Avenue Church. There's kind of an operative percentage that is less than 100, let's say.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
But here's High Holy Days for you.
But if you have 825, 30 households as we have, and that's 3,000 folks or more, oh my goodness, come on in.
Oh my gosh, here we are.
I'll finish this thought in a minute.
Here we are.
More important.
Listen, look at you, Cesar. You're right in the middle here. Okay, yes, this is good.
I had either Reuben or Cesar. I knew it was going to be one of the two.
Here we are. The rabbi will have an omelet with
I'm going to surprise him.
Seven slices of
Watch
cucumber.
this.
Okay. I would like poached eggs in a cup on the side, home fries, rye toast with butter on the side, and coffee, please, and water too.
Okay.
Corned beef hash, well done.
Okay.
2 eggs over easy. Rye toast, buttered.
Wow.
No home fries.
Wow. The over easy is on the corned beef.
Oh my goodness! And thank you. And an iced coffee, please, with some hot. No, half and half.
Half and half. Corned beef hash, well done.
Well done.
So it's kind of crispy then.
And you like the crispy. I will give you a little bit, and you will, as always.
I'm a happy guy.
Back in the early '80s, when Reverend Bill first tried my corned beef hash, I'm telling you right now. So when you have so many members, and that 3,000 plus will be there.
Yeah.
You want to make sure.
Yeah. But something too, and this might be a little bit of a segue into the news of the day.
Yes.
And by the way, here we are on August 29th. Our hearts go out to the people
of
Texas, Houston, Rockport,
of
those,
biblical
those,
proportions.
those shore
I mean,
towns.
just
Oh my gosh!
crazy.
And then we have a presidential visit today. We have some news being made even over the past 72 hours.
Yes,
the
yes.
news cycles are just incredible.
Yes.
But before we get to that, with regard to the High Holy Days in our houses of worship, it makes me think, given those headlines, that I felt this over the past couple weeks. I mean, here's the incident in Charlottesville.
Yes.
I would think, and that here are people of faith, which obviously a reverend and a rabbi, but here are folks, about us and in the community. Where to go? I mean, but our houses of worship. You know? And so I would want to go to Shabbat services, to be with the community, to hear a word preached and dare I say proclaimed in terms of response and comfort, but strength and commitment going forward. So I wonder across our houses of worship. Obviously, it's summertime. But I wonder about the turnout and attendance.
Remember, we have the great system of, we seldom, as clergy, are leading services during summer. So we have Shabbat leadership from lay people. So we have summer services where lay folks mostly lead services. After the incident in Charlottesville, I was compelled, to write a congregational message and send it out to the, to the membership and just share my own distress in my own hope that we can be bearers of light in moments of darkness. And clearly, not equivocating in any way, understanding those who stand with Nazis or members of the KKK are not many fine people. Or some fine people. There are no fine people.
From whence you speak, or from whence you make that comment in reference to the author of a comment like that. Does that sound cryptic or not? But yes, the president in 1, 2, and 3.
So you can't equivocate.
No, I mean here came the response.
Hate is hate.
In the lobby of Trump Tower, where he said, "Well, there are fine people on both sides." To which 4 groups of rabbis. One of them being Reform rabbis. Issued forth a statement and basically rescinded, if that's fair to say, an invitation to have the president speak to them on the. Could we have a little more half and half? Thank you.
What a joker, this guy.
So that jumps us right in there.
And I concurred with that decision. I'm one of, I don't know how many Reform rabbis are there in America.
That's a good question.
I would say too many. Basically. No, I'm teasing.
But there are about 2 to 3 million Reform Jews.
There are. So that means,
which is
and there are
ironically about the same number of Presbyterians. More.
No, it's not.
Oh, a little bit less than 2 million.
Is that true?
Oh yeah.
See, I think everybody's a Presbyterian.
No, I'm talking about you. See, here's what happens.
You folks over there, Presbyterian?
Yeah,
there you go.
Get it. Settle down over there. Yeah, there's a John Calvin fan club there. No. There's a wider, spread of Protestants.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. Yeah. And even still a larger number of Roman Catholics.
Yes, well, of course I know.
But oftentimes, it's like sometimes folks might say, well, if you're Christian, you're either Catholic or evangelical. So I'm glad to talk about Protestantism, Reformed theology. Yes, Presbyterian.
Yes.
Down the road we have Karen Berger at the Lutheran Church. Down the road further we have, or not so further, we have St. Thomas Episcopal with Carol Gadsden and Tammy Burke, Joe Green and
so again,
Marvin Henk, a Lutheran. They would be mainline Christian Protestant folk. And so within that fold, here's a Presbyterian sitting next to you. Let's move on, shall we?
It's why I feel so close to Reverend Bill. His movement is minuscule. I mean, I'm teasing. I feel like it's a heart. It's a heart of Protestantism, of the Presbyterians. We have so much in common, and oftentimes not always, but oftentimes, are so on the same page.
Yeah.
So yes, people I think wanted to come to Temple. They also wanted to connect to Temple to just feel as though their congregation was giving them some life guidance and some solace at a moment when I think it was for all of us who are loving human beings and want to build that bridge to see the events of Charlottesville and then the violence of Charlottesville was beyond. I mean, just beyond. My dear cousin, one of my cousins in the Boston area, in Lowell or Chelmsford, called me up, and I was heading up to New Hampshire later that weekend. There was going to be a rally the next weekend in Boston, our free speech rally.
Right.
And she said, "Jeff, I'm going." And I said, Marcy, or I called her, her real name would be Marcy, because there's no R in Marcy. So I said, Marcy.
North of Connecticut.
So I said, I'm afraid. I said, if you go, just be careful. I said, don't shout back. Stand tall and be. She said, you know me. Am I the kind of person that doesn't have impulse control and just shouts? I said, yes. So, but she said it was an amazing rally, peaceful. There were a very small number of free speech protesters, code word, and the turnout was gigantic from the Boston community and the greater Massachusetts, New England community to say, free speech is one thing. Is hate speech free speech? I guess it is to a degree. I wonder about the ACLU's position, in getting the license for the folks who the Klansmen and the neo-Nazi groups who marched in Charlottesville.
Well, and therein lies, we've jumped a lot of issues there. I mean, I'd like to back up and talk about Boston, preceding that, Charlottesville.
Yes.
Along the same weekend, Seattle, and then here was the march in Berkeley that was canceled. But with regard to this last comment about is hate speech free speech and the ACLU's position, yes, they actually took issue with the city of Charlottesville because the Charlottesville leaders had another location, beyond the permit spot that the alt-right and the neo-Nazis had applied for. And largely that was for the sake of security.
Safety.
They could not provide security in the original place. And so, that was a little story that wasn't fully known. And so the ACLU took up with their client, the neo-Nazi group and the alt-right group, to file suit. And I guess it's being adjudicated now in Charlottesville.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, this question you asked, Rabbi, is a good one. Is hate speech free speech? We've seen some editorials recently, have we not, where especially in the light of the ACLU's action, here's Charlottesville, but back in the day, make no mistake, the ACLU defended the neo-Nazi folks to march in Skokie, Illinois. And in 1989 or 87, in Washington, D.C., I was chaplain at George Washington University and led a protest or witness, much like Charlottesville, if I may, in downtown Washington against, or at least present in the face of a Ku Klux Klan rally that really broke into violence. I mean, I saw swastikas, I saw hooded Klansmen within 200 yards of the White House. It was an ugly and awful thing. Make no mistake. Those events have happened certainly in our history, and to hear the alt-right today is to hear them say, we will come back to Charlottesville.
Yeah, this is
and
nothing
by the way,
new.
they were in Charlottesville a month before this incident. And so here comes a critical question, among many, and you hear them here at the table with the Reverend and the Rabbi. But this critical question is hate speech, free speech? I think we have some hard looking and thinking and talking to do. If there is this, vile and violent, not just propensity, but it's in the birthright and order, the conviction of these folks who come with, their insignias, the swastika and the like. My goodness, at the Reformed Temple in Charlottesville, right outside the door. There were the neo-Nazis and the
you read that
alt-right
beautiful
people.
Alan Zimmerman, the president, wrote a beautiful piece.
And the claim, to be rid of the Jews right outside their door.
Yeah.
They had to be spirited with protection out the back door. Okay, there were those critical moves, for folk at the temple, as well as for the interfaith religious folk, led by Cornel West and other pastors, there in Charlottesville, who came face to face with these folks. And they, by way of some strategy and steps, were moved aside. By whom? By the Antifa folk. Some of the claims from National Council of Churches pastors were that our lives were spared or saved by these folks because we were versed in civil disobedience and nonviolent civil disobedience. Were at that, they were just there to proclaim, a peace, freedom, and justice. But in the face of that, they could have been hurt and hurt bad.
The last thing about, to frame this, there's racism that's prevalent in our country. This is not a post-racial society by any means. Ironically, when our first black president was elected to office and the hope was so high, what did we see? We saw racism come to the fore. We saw the inherent inequity or bias and bigotry that lies to a degree at the heart of the nation. Or maybe not at the heart of the nation, maybe in a different part of the body, maybe the spleen, isn't the spleen the part that has the poisonous stuff that's...
for the first time at this table, we're getting into biology and endocrinology.
But point being...
And the inner workings of our human body.
Point being...
I'd like to move us on to the point being. Take it away, Rabbi.
Point being, thank you so much. Let me talk in the spoon. The point being that... that, it's not often that congregations, and this is Congregation Beth Israel in Charlottesville, as the president wrote, I had to go back inside, and it made me very sad to ask the congregants, please don't leave out the front, it's better to leave out the back. And we had already removed and hid our Torahs in private homes. Why?
Prior to that moment?
1938, folks, comes back in a flash. As for Jews, Kristallnacht, when 1,000 synagogues virtually were destroyed, and who knows how many Torahs and holy books, how many people's lives were taken, and how many were already deported at that first deportation. So the idea, these folks, when they heard the night before from the police, removed all but one Torah from the congregation and hid them in private homes. And it's as if to say, Jews know what's most precious, the sacred word. So just now go back to the question. If the sacred word is most precious, how about the words we use in our lives? Should we be able to use the most hateful, disdainful words? Jews will not replace us. That, by the way, is nothing compared to what we heard said about blacks, Jews, gays, you name it. Anybody different, anybody who wasn't that white that those Klansmen were parading, to protest all of us, really. And so, to me, it's not about anti-Semitism. It's not about racial prejudice against blacks or Hispanics. It's about understanding we live in a place where the dignity of difference has to be, premier and paramount. I don't know if hate speech if free speech should be hate speech. It bothers me greatly. It just distresses me. I understand. We live in a place where anybody's free to say what they'd like to say, and of course, we're not going to deny that. It's just beyond hurtful to folks to deal with this and to deal with what boils over from that sometimes hateful speech, which is violence and destruction of life, which shouldn't happen any place, especially in a college campus and in a lovely little town like Charlottesville.
Well, here in wow, great timing. Cesar, thank you. Great.
Thank you, sir.
Well, thou preparest the table before me, but not in the presence of my enemies, my brother.
No.
My brother. Here's bread.
Look at this. We can both. We can both. I can exchange bread with you. Come on.
Let's go. This will be, because usually it's from here, but you.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz.
With blessing and thanks for the bread of life that we share. Pan at the heart of companionship. Pan for bread. Amen.
Amen. The best rye ever.
And we never got the brand of this rye. Was this Levy's rye?
I think this is a secret rye.
It's a secret
I think
rye.
it is. Yep.
Yeah. But I want to name two names.
I hope so.
Imani Williams and Alan Edson. Do you know those names?
No. I'm not sure I do.
So, they were really, they started as faces in the crowd. Imani at the rally in Boston, Alan at the rally in Seattle this past weekend, Imani the week before. So what happened is, Imani is an African-American woman from Connecticut who went up to Boston for that rally that Masi, am I saying her name correctly?
Masi, my cousin Masi went.
Right.
Very good.
Right.
Well said.
So here's Imani, and she, I'm not sure if she traveled with anybody, but she was there. She came up from Connecticut, and so here was the crowd. It was in Boston Commons, was it not?
It was.
Yeah. So there are a lot of the free speech, and anti alt-right protesters.
Yes.
There. And so they're present. They've witnessed, as we all did from afar, Charlottesville. They had come because, as we heard the cries from the alt-right and the neo-Nazis in Charlottesville, we will be protesting again here in Charlottesville and elsewhere.
Yes.
And that event in Boston was scheduled. So here's Imani and other anti-neo-Nazi protesters there. And here comes a guy with a Trump shirt on. He's kind of singular, and he's literally lost in the crowd, and he is
lost looking for his way.
He can't find the alt-right people, so people have assembled, and this guy gets booed and jeered, and then worse. It looks like he's going to be attacked by some of these anti-neo-Nazi protesters.
And Imani,
this guy, for some reason, some cops, appear to kind of help him through the crowd, okay? And Imani steps up and says, "Let me help you." This African-American woman. She, takes his brother by the hand, okay, and leads him through. And she does so in the face of a young African-American man who is in this guy's face, and the guy is egging him on. And she pulls this brother aside and says, "Don't do that. Don't go there. That's just what they want. They want you to act and react in animalistic behavior, and that's what they've been doing to us." I mean, but she, makes her way, leading this guy to literally the other side. So he can exercise his free speech there in Boston Commons. Alan Edson. Alan is
what's Imani's last name?
Williams.
I just told that story.
Williams. And so Alan Edson is the producer, director, MC of this PBS radio program, Reveal. It's, late night PBS has great things, The Moth and the New Yorker, Story News Hour with David Remick. I mean, I hope they invite us someday, and maybe Mike could work that out. But
they might. They might.
Alan Edson is on Reveal, and he's doing this story in Seattle because there's another like protest, and he comes upon a guy who. Like the guy I described trying to find his way in Boston Commons, who's an alt-right neo-Nazi guy. And some of the people, I don't even want to say the left, okay? But they're people like those in our congregation who are present and who are, wanting to bear witness. And then there's a fringe that's getting, that's jeering and worse. And Alan Edson, upon this guy getting, he's getting hit, okay? And there are some sticks too. Alan Edson, who's African American, okay? Do I have this right? But Alan Edson, what I do have right is that Alan Edson goes over and
shelters him.
And puts his body over this brother.
Wow.
Okay? Basically to stop it. So that
this is an alt-right guy who's clearly identified and is being pummeled.
Who's being pummeled.
Yeah.
And herein lies, I think of rabbis who we've known and loved and who've inspired us, gone on before us, as well as pastors and priests.
Yes.
I am incensed by, the venom and vitriol and violence of here's the alt-right, here's neo-Nazi, here's the KKK, who all of the above who have been kind of given cover and countenance and even a sense of, permission,
Yeah.
I won't use the word blessing by, that one in the highest office of the land, okay?
Yeah.
But what about First Amendment rights? Free speech, yes, not hate speech, but and what it means for here's an Alan Edson, here's an Amani Williams, here's a Rabbi Jeff Sirkin, here's a Reverend Bill Crawford.
Amani Williams and Alan Edson were practicing exactly what Dr. King, may his memory be for blessing, was trying to teach, which is nonviolent protest, which was standing up with dignity even when the fire hoses are whipping against you.
And here's an MLK story. I found myself reading, Yes the News, as well as reaching back for stories and accounts, and I love my volumes of MLK.
Yeah.
By the way, our president Donald Trump, upon his visit to the Vatican, let us record and remember. Do you remember what his gift was to Pope Francis?
No.
Donald Trump went to the Vatican and gave Pope Francis 5 volumes of Martin Luther King.
He gave Pope Francis?
He gave Pope Francis 5 books written by Martin Luther King. Now, I'd love for the White House to issue the bibliography and to help us to name it. But he knew that Pope Francis, in his work in South America, Pope of the People, revered Dr. King, and he was thoughtful with his gift. Would that he would read them. Martin Luther King, back when the civil rights movement was long after Rosa Parks. It was after the March on Washington. It was moving toward some actual particulars into the North with regard to fair housing and jobs, and so he marched in Chicago, and there in Chicago on the South Side, there were the joints and jeers, much like we're talking about with Charlottesville and Boston Commons and Seattle, and there were some stones thrown. There was even a brick, and I'm not sure what the missile was, but it hit him. Whatever.
Right.
It hit him. And I shudder to do that to you, my brother. Because this is minuscule compared to a brickbat, a stone.
Right.
And so, he continued to walk the walk. He did not flinch. He did not retreat. He did not, escape. But, he kept his people going forward. And again, reminded them of nonviolence and the witness and bearing eyes on the prize. And then, what he wound up doing? He confronted the stone thrower.
Really?
He said to him, now this may be legend, but my God.
Sounds great so far.
Here we go. He said, and kind of like this, I can't imagine or understand that somebody so smart and good looking as you would be so filled with hate.
How's that for an opening line, huh?
Really?
Yeah.
Really? Yeah. So what do you say? What do you do?
Yeah.
Here's the guy.
Yeah.
Here's the guy who might have had something, maybe another stick, maybe a stone in his hand, and what of that?
Yes.
And so Here's Charlottesville. Here's Boston Commons. Here's Seattle.
Yeah.
You know, what are we, August 29th, 2017, what are we to be witnessing?
Yeah.
You know, and I really think people who are watching and listening, here's a beloved rabbi, here's a reverend friend brother, here are congregations, here are priests and houses of worship, here are people of conscience, you know, goodwill, peace-minded people seeking justice, you know, in and among us. You know, we are called to bear witness going forward. Okay, would we get to the day, and I'll finish with this, it was a point I used in my sermon on Sunday, right at the Larchmont Avenue Church. There was a piece in the New Yorker by Jelani Cobb, okay, and basically he talked about Charlottesville. It was about 10 days ago. Okay, here we are, August 29th. And he talked about the fact that as soon as Charlottesville broke, whatever we can say happened in Charlottesville, there was a hashtag, you know, the Twitter, you know, stuff, and the hashtag was hashtag this is not us.
Yes.
Hashtag this is not us. And Jelani Cobb, you know, an African American writing for the New Yorker, you know, wondered, is that accurate? You know, I mean, folks, white folks who organized, you know, wanted to have it said that this is not us.
Yeah.
But what about us? You know, are we rid of racism, anti-Semitism, bias against and toward the other, the different one, the gay, the transgender, the lesbian? You know, and would that we arrive at a day, you know, because of the work we do and the commitment and the peace and the acceptance and the justice, where we can say hashtag this was us. Right. You know? Yeah. And it is not us now. Yeah. We've got work to do.
Oh, we certainly have work to do. Yeah. Yeah. No, we have lots of work to do. You know, in preparation for High Holiday sermons, as we said, coming up.
Oh, is that
Congregation near you, one sermon will definitely be about race or about the nature of hate. And you know, I always read way too many books for a sermon because, you know,
we all do, huh?
Can you use 8 books in a sermon?
Gosh,
no.
Right.
So I'm reading this, a short book, but quite a powerful book. This is Tears We Cannot Stop, a sermon to white America by Michael Eric Dyson, amazing professor at Georgetown, I believe.
You know,
is it Georgetown, right? And an ordained, I believe, Baptist minister. Yeah. And he writes the book as a day in church. And so the coolest thing is that the first chapter is call to worship. Then he has hymns of praise. Then he has invocation, a scripture reading, a sermon, a benediction, an offering plate, etc. And it is beyond powerful. And what it helps you understand is that racism is so prevalent and so real in America that to be black in America is to really have the challenge every day of living with honor and dignity, where there's going to be somebody in your day who confronts you with bigotry and hate every day. I'm sitting yesterday at Chat 19 with my friend Bishop Powell, because we're talking about how we're going to get together, and Bishop Powell is black Pentecostal minister at the Straight Gate Church, great guy, my dear friend for over 25 years. And Bishop Powell and I are sitting there and outside having lunch at Chat, and talking about, our congregation's probably post High Holy Days, we're going to have an afternoon, we want to get together, we want to talk about really shared feelings of oppression and of the challenge of being Jewish and being black, you know, in our country and in our own history, and what that means for us today, and how we can build that bridge and reach out to others around us. Wayne and I were talking about stories, and he was telling me a story about being pulled over in his father's Cadillac as a probably 18, 19-year-old kid in Mamaroneck. His dad was Bishop Albert S. Powell, who was a dear friend of Dr. King. Dr. King came twice to speak at the church. Jackie Robinson came to the church. Sugar Ray Robinson came to the church. So it was really so Wayne stopped by the police, and one of the police, they see a black kid driving a very light-skinned black woman, and they probably couldn't tell, in a Cadillac, and they want to know what's the deal here, and they pull him over for no reason really, and they say, wait a minute, aren't you Reverend Powell's kid? And he says, yeah, and they say, get home. This is the probably, Wayne is a little older than me, it's probably the late 60s in Mamaroneck. The next day, or maybe that night, after Bishop Powell, his father, called the chief of police in Mamaroneck, the officer came by to apologize. Unheard of. But Wayne then proceeded to tell me how many times since then, living in Stamford and Greenwich, as a black man driving a BMW in his sweatsuit, he's been pulled over for virtually no reason.
Driving while black.
Driving while black is the reason. This is my friend, Reverend Powell, the bishop at the Straight Gate Church, who preaches love and who is love. I mean, come on. I can't know what it is. And so, if you want to read one book on it, it will disturb you and discomfort you, and that's exactly what it's supposed to do.
Michael Eric Dyson is really quite profound. He did a lecture at Union Seminary, my alma mater. A little sweet and special story. I mean, he wrote a book on one of my favorites. Thank you so much, Cesar.
Thanks, Cesar.
He wrote a book on Marvin Gaye.
Did he really?
Marvin Gaye.
Oh, yes.
Marvin Gaye, he's a really prolific guy.
Yeah.
Dyson is. And Gaye was...
Look at this. Look at these books.
I know.
The guy's written 30 books.
And so we had I actually pitched the proposal to him because Marvin Gaye, little factoid, is a victim of fratricide. He was shot dead by his father. His father, father was a Pentecostal pastor, and Marvin Gaye, was strong and vibrant in the got with his music, R&B, Motown. He, like a lot of the folks, across racial lines, got involved in drugs and whatever, and there was some wildness and stuff in young Marvin, and his father, this Pentecostal pastor, thought this was of the devil.
Wow.
Now let me just say that, and one thing led to another.
Yeah, that was it.
And he
Mercy Me.
There we go.
The Art, Loves, and Demons of Marvin Gaye, 2004.
But I'm going to disclose something that I wish I could say Michael Eric Dyson and I are working on, but it's a rock and R&B opera or Broadway production on the life and times
of Marvin Gaye.
Complete with the music and the storyline. But he is a terribly creative fellow, profound indeed. I think it was, if I may say so, touching to him that a white guy was so, what shall I say, conversant on matters of black artists and R&B.
University professor of Georgetown, of sociology at Georgetown, and of course contributing to the New York Times and the New Republic.
Yeah.
So, lots of things going on in our country, in our world, in our lives. One of the things that we're, experiencing as Jews is it's Elul. What's Elul? That is the Hebrew month we're in, and the Hebrew calendar, based on the lunar cycle, reminds us when it's 30 days before Rosh Hashanah, the High Holy Days, in order to prepare. So that every day we're supposed to think about our own level and place, our own repentance. How are we doing? Are we making teshuvah? Are we turning our lives around? Are we beginning to make that journey back to our higher selves, to who we can become and who we should be? This is not us. And so who is it we're supposed to be? And so every day in Elul, the rabbis teach, you're supposed to take a look at your life deeds, and you're supposed to maybe write in a notebook, well, here's all the stuff I got to be working on. And so we send out a little blurb written by somebody different person every day of the week. In the month of Elul, leading up to Rosh Hashanah, that's a spiritual reflection about where they are in their lives and what they're doing. And so one of the things that we're encouraging our congregants to do this year is to think about the spiritual state of their lives. Because what gets lost in the political rhetoric and in the hateful speech and in the innuendo? I love turning on CNN, it's great entertainment, or MSNBC. I'll even turn on Fox to take a look. There's always, or almost always, a panel of people speaking for and against a person, oftentimes it's the president, or an issue. There's now and again someone who will redeem the conversation and try to take it beyond issue and beyond, and there were some very convincing folks there, but it's not about being right. It's not about, now, I do believe that there is a right and a wrong, and I do believe that there's a just and an unjust, but it's about trying to talk and listen to each other, trying to hear the other, and at the same time to listen to what's going on inside.
Yeah.
And so, so I would encourage people, especially, Jews, or if you want to be Jewish, you're in, to think about, especially as the summer begins to wane, and we don't want to even think about that. It's sort of a gray day today, but it's going to be Labor Day, and then it's going to be, the beginning of school, and we're going to see all the kids walking to school, and we're going to think, I remember when my kids were walking to school, or my kids are walking to school, don't cross the street yet. And we're going to be thinking about the year starting up, and it's going to, all of a sudden, the leaves are going to start to turn. Well, as the leaves turn, we have to turn. We have to turn our lives around. We have to realize that that's not the color that we should be projecting. That's not the person we are. We can be better. We can be more kind, more considerate, more humane, and even more holy. So that's the goal of these days. So I just put that out there. Yeah. It's a little bit of a call, but it's really to say all of us are on that journey.
Well, and I think you're taking us, and here come High Holy Days. And those dates on the calendar are September.
September 20, could be 21st or 22nd.
Okay.
It's you look in the calendar.
Next time we're on air, we'll get those dates straight. And certainly
it's Rosh Hashanah. I'll be there.
There we go. But I think you take us forward with this statement and vision and steps. And here's matters of redemption and spirituality, but here we can talk the genesis or beginning of that, the elements of confession, which leads me to my point on this, and that is, here with matters of race and here with matters of oppression, we're called, and it's not just because we're looking at monuments in this country. Perhaps about 1,500 monuments have been dedicated in the name of and the personage of and the image of people who have been, Confederate, soldiers and the like, who have been slave owners,
yes,
who fought for that institution to keep it in place. I have to say I'm struggling with this. I'm not about the call for taking them down, but I feel like the recognition of what they represent is before us, which is to say, yes, we've moved on and we need to move on. However, here are some antecedents, of racism, of bias, of anti-Semitism, in, dare I say, we can talk about original sin, America's original sin, in and about us.
Yes.
That as we come to this point right now, and here were the lessons in Charlottesville. Oh my gosh, 75 years ago, we thought, did we not, that we defeated Nazi ideology once and for all. We thought, I hope, no longer do we have that scourge about us.
Yes.
But we have people bearing those insignia and doing signs. I can't even bear to do that here. I can't even bear to do that.
Yeah.
And the shouts outside the synagogue. Yeah. It's like, oh my gosh, what about the ridding of that? And how can we move beyond that? Yeah. And so, even mentioned 1,500 monuments across this country. Jelani Cobb's piece in the New Yorker speaks to some of that. But Ned Benson in our community did an awesome Martin Luther King program right here in our community back in January. And he noted the number of streets whose names
Yeah.
are those of slave owners, Delancey being one of those, across this community.
Yep.
Make no mistake. And so it's not to call us as we look at these elements of, race and bias and justice, oppression about us, but the antecedents for those and how to name and note those for the sake of moving on.
Yeah.
I'm struggling with that in some distinct ways. I'm also not calling for guilt and contrition. Is to say, what about responsibility? Now and going forward.
Well, that's just it. Statues. If there are statues that are going to be lightning rods, if they're misplaced, I understand that. You can't remove history, and certainly, the president, called out, what Thomas Jefferson and George Washington, are they going to? And of course, we understand that slavery was still an institution in America at that time, so it's a very different call. These are not secessionists, and these are not people who are fighting to keep slavery, and thus honored because of it. But it's not about a past; it's about building a more sane present, and better future. So
yeah.
That's where we have to go.
We to the book portion of our program. I'm
Yes.
not sure how much time we have left, but
the book portion. You see, now there's a book portion of the program.
Well, there's always.
There should be a
There's
book portion.
of our hearts, and this one's certainly on my heart. This is entitled "My So-Called Biblical Life." Great title, don't you think?
What a great cover.
And the author,
Who's that by?
this is by Reverend Dr. Julie Faith Parker. It's a collection of essays by her students over some recent years, students at Yale Divinity School, students at Colby College, students at Sing Sing Prison that Julie's worked with. And they have taken some awesome biblical passages and really expounded or addressed them and commented on them. And there's some very interesting, engaging participatory devices,
great.
questions for discussion, dialogue. It's available on Amazon. I say that shamelessly. And then, if I may, September 23rd at 4 p.m. at the Larchmont Avenue Church, there'll be a presentation and a book launch and signing with Dr. Parker there in the house. It's rather exciting. It's gotten some, dare I say, critical acclaim. Christian Century, the magazine, may be doing a feature on it. And Julie, shamelessly I say this, and with great passion, is my spouse. She's taught at the community, the continuing ed program here in Larchmont Mamaroneck. She's presently on the faculty of Trinity Seminary in Columbus, Ohio. And this is a pretty exciting piece.
Oh, it's wonderful.
Truly.
It's
and
wonderful.
The proceeds go to benefit the Exodus Project, which is based in East Harlem, and it deals with ex-offenders who have done their time, who are released and in the community and doing some incredibly productive and constructive things, and who are part of that support base known as the Exodus Project. Two of those inmates have articles in here that are really quite profound.
And I think I understand. I mean, because I spoke to Julie about it a couple of times, but it's really bringing moments in Bible to life by animating them, and it's almost in essence doing what I would call modern midrash by becoming part of the text, and all of a sudden taking a role in the text, or becoming, there's that scene, with Abraham and Isaac, and it's, and Isaac says, well, where's the lamb? All right, now you be Isaac.
Yeah.
So I mean, and I wouldn't doubt it if it's going to be on the cover of the, of the New York Times Book Review. I'm ready for it.
Well, here we go. But I mean, like several members of our community, here's an author who will be with us in this special program, September 23rd, 4 p.m., Larchmont Avenue Church. She has been overjoyed and honored to present at the Temple previously, as well as the Continuing Ed project, and so many of you who have experienced Julie and her teaching will resonate with what you see and read in this, and others are introduced as well. So welcome.
Awesome.
Indeed.
Just
there we
awesome.
Go. There we go.
Special time, special year. Just to note, special year. I was thinking about the church, and you guys had, was it your 100th? Well, no, it
was 2 years ago.
Right. So it sounds like yesterday.
2014.
So
yeah,
we have our 70th this year.
Oh my God.
So the 70th starts, with the holy days coming up.
A good biblical number.
And so So somebody said to me, a trustee said, 75 seems to be much more important. Why 70 is nothing? I said, no. 70 is a big biblical number. That's it. Yeah. That's the descendants of the family of Jacob who go down and sojourn. 70, is the number, of elders. And has other significance that I don't want to reveal. You have to come to a sermon about the 70th and our history, because you'd be shocked to know how Larchmont Temple started and what it took to get it off the ground in this beautiful village of Larchmont in 1948.
1948. I mean, the birth year of Israel.
Of Israel.
The nation state.
And remember, there was no temple building. Where the temple building is now, there was no temple building.
What was there?
There was a lot. There was nothing. What existed was the next door Blum building. We call it the Blum building, the beautiful Victorian house.
That's a great house.
That used to have a little carriage house and used to have a veranda that went out, that went in a fire, the carriage house. But that was the original temple building that they bought, and there's a story that goes with that, which, I cannot reveal, but if you come...
we try at this table. We try to pry it out of the rabbi. That could be a special feature.
To the High Holy Days.
I don't even know when they are.
Don't
pry it out of the rabbi. Okay? It's easy to get the Boston Red Sox box scores, but this particular story, you have to come to temple for this.
Well, I think it's only appropriate. How the Phillies doing? I don't even know.
Oh, cut it out. I mean,
oh my gosh.
The worst team in baseball.
Are they really?
When last I looked, and I can't bear to look. This is how I read the sports pages. Okay? The Phillies, 25 games out. 25 games out. Notice at the top of the program, you can roll back the tape on this, people. The rabbi talked about, the Red Sox are in first place. I had nothing to share. Okay? Why?
Yeah.
Phillies may have the same color as the Red Sox, but 25 games out, they're just, let's say it's a building year. A building year.
Yes.
I mean, it's really sad.
We all have those kind of years.
Yeah. I mean, they are, nobody is as bad as the Phillies. I hope I'm wrong, but in the Major League standings, no.
You know what? There's no place else to go but up. Think of it that way. I'm positive. Glass half full.
There we go.
Glass half full.
So we're rolling here. I wonder, because we could go on to like 5 or 6 other topics. I just want to do we have a time check here, Mr. Mike?
Oh, perfect. So let me ask you, maybe a totally different question, because the church, with everything that's going on.
Yeah.
And one of the challenges that I remind young rabbis I get to teach about to be rabbis and cantors in their 5th year of senior seminar at Hebrew College.
Wow.
And so I've been doing that for 18 years. And
great year.
And I basically teach them not how to mess up badly, and try to help them understand how to present themselves in their best, how to vision.
And that's what you say to them? That's really a great line.
Yeah.
So, around this table, they're bright, they're shining, they're ready to go out the door.
My job is, I don't want you to mess up badly.
Okay, let's take a big, deep breath. This is about how to not mess up badly.
Yeah, I don't usually use that line. But, one of the things that I've found is that the large majority, if not the totality, of the people around a table with me as young rabbinic students or beginning rabbinic students. Some may not be so young. They may not be 26 or 27 or 28. They may be 42 and a second career or 50. But many of them, if not all of them, have the same political predilection and the same sort of outlook as progressive Jews in the world.
Otherwise, they I mean, they would be other than Reformed.
I would think so.
I would guess.
And here's the challenge. They're going to serve congregants and congregations that have a spectrum of thought and belief.
Yeah.
And they're going to serve a diverse people who, though many, you could say 70%, 60%, 80%, depending on where you are, 95%, feel certain ways about what goes down in American politics and what goes down on the social scene. How do you serve that diverse spectrum, right? How do you serve when you know there are some folks at LAC who may have voted for a candidate that you didn't, or maybe not so distressed about all the Russia news and all the intrigue, or really are hoping for the economic change that is promised and that they are seeing little bits of, you know, in our current, you know, administration. How do you serve everyone? You know, and is that ever a challenge?
Well, in a word, yes, but the other thing is that when you list the cohort and the people on their predilections, you know, I mean, many of them would be intent, earnest, passionate about making sure, hoping that we speak out, you know, against this or that or otherwise, and so. You know, that spectrum is rather interesting. In the midst of that, I mean, here's the locus and the occasion of our worship and the identity of the church or a congregation, and the calling of our faith. It's not to be partisan, but here is the calling of our faith to justice, to truth. You know, to peace, to accord, as in community, our relationships together, and so in that case, you know, I'm sensitive and aware, as we no doubt are, of the predilection and you know, even the particular political position of many of our folks. Many of our folks might not want to reveal that as much, but. So in the meantime, that essential calling of our faith
so I agree with you there.
Is what I'm glad you know
to hold up,
preach,
as you would say,
to hold up, to purport, you know, to push as we go.
And what I would say, it's even many times in what I try to share with students, as well as remind myself all the time, is that there are some issues that this is beyond politics. When our morality is challenged, when the basic human rights that we hold most dear are somehow sullied, if not disregarded.
Well, there we go. And
that to me is the core. That to me is the core. We need to wrap it up here, which is, let's say, this is a note of prayer as well as invitation to dialogue and discuss further. Yes, it is, my
we're going to
brother.
be doing that in the days ahead in some rather intense, rich, and previously unheard of or known. I think we're walking into some really, you know, interesting, important, challenging time for us, you know, as a community, as a people.
The key is to talk with each other. The story goes, I'll end with the story. The story goes that there are two peasants, Russian peasants, in a tavern. They're drinking together, and they're drinking to each other, and they're back and forth, and they've had a number of shots. And one says to the other, "Tell me, my friend, do you love me?" And he says, "Of course I love you, Ivan." And he says, "Okay, so if you love me, tell me what pains me, what hurts me most." And he says, "How should I know?" He said, "If you don't know what hurts me, how can you say you love me?" You have to know what hurts the other. You have to know what brings pain, and you have to know if you cause that pain.
Here we are.
My brother, you look so casual.
You know, it's did I forget to wear my tie?
Oh
today?
my gosh.
Oh my God.
By the way, I'm headed out this weekend to a wedding in Aspen. I just wanted to throw that in. Doing a wedding for a congregant. I have to go to Aspen. I know somebody's got to do it.
There we go.
So I'll be in Aspen this weekend, but it's pretty cool for the Szabo family. Just delightful family. And Jake and Samantha are a great couple. And so we wish
there we go. Jake and Samantha.
Only well. Only well.
Okay. Bye, everybody.
My friend.
Blessings, Rabbi.
God bless.
Already.